Honor and privilege to welcome you to the 2021 Iowa High School Football Playoff Preview Show here on the JT Sports Network. And today it is a big one as we preview all the area teams. But first off, head coach Justin Putz and the Independence Mustangs head mentor will join us shortly here on the show. But my thoughts on this Independence team, it starts with who I call King Marcus Beatty. King Beatty, he was fourth in the state in all-purpose yards at 2,222, third in the state in rushing yards with 1,931, and in guy behind the center, the dual combo with Marcus Beatty, Mitchell Johnson, fourth in Class 3A in passing touchdowns with 20, and he has a good target to throw to. And sophomore tight end Brady McDonald, who is 10th in the Class 3A in receiving touchdowns with 7. And these two ball-hawking defenses of Independence and Independence opponent Friday night in Van Horn, the Bennett Community Bobcats, second in Class 3A in INTs for the Mustangs with 14. They are second in Class 3A in points allowed, with only allowing 10 points a ball game. That's absolutely amazing. And Bennett Community is seventh in Class 3A in points allowed with 13. So if this becomes a game where it could very well come to one or two plays that could decide who's moving on and who's going home to take on either second-ranked Humboldt or Hampton Dumont Cal, it could be, if it's a track meet, advantage Mustangs, because the Bennett Community Bobcats are not built on scoring quickly. They are scoring quickly, but they like to ground it out, play smash mouth football. They like to give it to the hands of Jacob Breck. We'll talk about him in a little bit. He's a do-it-all player. He reminds me of a lot of Noah Clayberg when he was in Pella, because Noah Clayberg, he could run, he could throw, he can catch, he can block punts, he can intercept the ball, he can force fumbles. That's exactly what Jacob Breck is for the Bennett Community Bobcat offense and defense. But let's look at the other key stats of the Mustangs. They're sixth in Class 3A in point differential with a plus 26.6 point differential, and eighth in Class 3A in points per game, averaging 36 points a ball game. That's absolutely amazing for the Independence Mustangs. But the key players for Bennett Community All-Stars and the engine of that offense and defense, and Jacob Breck, who's second in Class 3A in rushing yards with second in Class 3A in rushing yards with 1,336. So the top two rushers in Class 3A are going to go toe-to-toe in Friday night in Bobcat Field in Van Horn. And seventh in Class 3A in rushing touchdowns with 14. Fifth in Class 3A in total tackles. Second in Class 3A in total tackles with 61. So they're very good. And then also on the defense, joining Breck is Lawrence Wallace, fifth in Class 3A in total tackles with 51, and Will Shaw, who's fifth in Class 3A in sacks with 5, and Kyla Monahan is 10th in 3A in sacks with 4. And as a team, they're very, very stout defensively. They're third as a team in Class 3A in total sacks. They're 10th in 3A in points differential with plus 14.2, and 9th in Class 3A in points per game at 27. So it's strength against strength, but I think the key is Independence's offense versus Bennett Community's defense. That's why I think the big, formidable matchup is going to be Marcus Beatty against Breck, Wallace, Shaw, Monahan. How can Beatty get it? Can Beatty get going like he did against Center Point Urbana, where he had 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown? Basically, the football cycle, all he missed was a punt return and a kickoff return, and he would have had the grand slam. You don't see that very often, the cycle from a running back, and that is a 5-2 play that Independence needs to rely on. But they have to have a good game from Mitchell Johnson. Mitch Johnson has to play one of his best games of his career here against Bennett Community, because you cannot give that ball to the Bend Community offense. With a short field, you got to take care of the football, especially in the playoffs. Taking care of the football is especially important in any game, but especially in the playoffs against a very good, talented team, the Bend Community. You do not want to give Bend Community extra possessions to score points. They will take advantage of it more often than not, and that's where the game could go there. But Bend Community also, the second in INT's Independence, when they force turnovers, they have won every game but one when they force a turnover. The only exception was West Delaware. That's the only game where they have lost when forcing a turnover. This defense has been ball hawking all season long. They are top 10 in the state in forcing turnovers. They also have 9 forced fumbles, well, along with 14 INTs. And this ball hawking defensive Independence got to come ready to play against a good Bennett Community running attack, because like last year, solid smash mouth football, 50 rushing attempts. The Independence allowed 250 yards to the Solon Spartans. I don't think Independence is going to allow 250 yards to this Bennett Community team, but they got to come ready to play. They got to come ready to play to stop the run and stop the play action pass, because when Bennett Community gets the running game going, that sets up their quarterback to go play action pass, and that's when things can get good for the Bobcats of Bennett Community, who are 8-1. They lost their first game of the season. They have won 8 straight since then. The Mustangs started off 7-0 to start the season, then lost to West Delaware, but then ended the season on a good note. They have scored 40 points or more in every game but 3. Creek Amana, West Delaware, and Vinton Shellsburg. They have scored 40 points or more in every game but 3. That's very impressive for head coach Justin Putz, who will join the show in a little bit. And all the credit to the offensive line. The offensive line has been good all year long for the Independence Mustangs, opening holes for Marcus Beatty. And you do not want to discount the Mitchell Johnson quarterback draw, because he could run. He's not a true motor boat quarterback, but he can dunk it down. He will lower the shoulder, try to get those extra yards that Independence needs to try to get this big victory against Bennett Community, to try to move on to Bennett Community, try to move on to Hampton Dumont or Humboldt next Friday night. You're listening to the 2021 Iowa High School Football Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. 2021 High School Football Playoff Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network, and we now look at head coach Nathan Reck and the East Buchanan Buccaneers, who had a big win last Friday against the Newman Catholic on Mason City Knights, 44-29. The final tabulation there. Let's take a look at the stats in that game against Newman Catholic of Mason City, sorry. It was a big win for the Buccaneers. Now they will take on the Lisbon Lions, a current Tri-River Conference foe for the Buccaneers of East Buchanan. Max Burt had 254 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Jack Manzio had 10 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown. Noah Nash Humergarth, the big senior for Newman Catholic of Mason City, had 3 touchdowns, 8 receptions, 125 yards. But the big player for East Buchanan was Adam Hackett. 4 touchdowns for 213 yards, 20 rushes. And then Adam Hackett again, 7.5 tackles in the game and 1.5 tackles for loss. And now they will take on the Lisbon Lions as Lisbon. Let's take a look at what it was in the regular season. They didn't play the Lions in the regular season, but EB, since the second game of the season, is on a 7-game winning streak since the 20-0 loss at home to North Lynn, and they've been very impressive since then. 40-0 at Maquoketa Valley, 48-7 at home against Bellevue, 30-0 against Clayton Ridge, 40-16 against South Winneshiek and 20-19 at Starmont. They've been very impressive since that loss to Northland, and EB is looking to keep going. They are led under center by Keaton Kelly, the senior, with 367 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, only 4 picks. But rushing the ball, Adam Hackett. They go with a 3 running back system, and it's led by their leader, senior leader, 2 senior leaders, Adam Hackett and Connor Williams. Hackett has 1,495 yards rushing, 18 rushing touchdowns, 10 yards per carry. And then also Connor Williams, the 1-2 punch, 626 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, 5 rushing touchdowns for Williams, and also Tanner Thurm. Don't sleep on the fullback, Tanner Thurm, 585 yards rushing, 8 rushing touchdowns, 5.9 point yards per carry in a line at 16. And when they go to receiver, all the receiving touchdown has gone to sub-4 wide receiver Hunter Bowers with 333 yards, 21.2 yards per catch, and then also Connor Williams out of the backfield. The defense for East Buchanan has been very, very stout. 4.5 sacks for Williams, 4.4 sacks for Tanner Thurm, 6.5 tackles for Cody Fox, and Cody Fox is very, very good. The other Fox boy is at Iowa, playing football for head coach Kirk Ferentz. And then let's look at the Lisbon Lions, as the 1-2 punch is very formidable for the Lisbon Lions. That got by Bellevue 30-27. The go to 9-1, and now the Lions, since the opening week loss to West Branch 12-6, they have been on a 9-game winning streak since. And they have been impressive by doing it 40-0 against Columbus Junction, 58-6 against North Cedar, 58-7 against Pekin, 43-0 against Highland Riverside, 36-21 against Starmont. And now let's look at the stats of their win, close win against Bellevue 5-4. They actually played good. Bellevue led it 14-8 after the first quarter, but the Lions outscored the Comets 16-6 in the second and third quarter, and that's the difference in the ball game. Gavin Woolham had 1 touchdown, 10 yards, but how about Max Cole? Max Cole, 3 rushing touchdowns, 176 yards. Jamin Moore, the starting running back, had a huge day defensively with 7.5 total tackles, but a huge day for Cole Helm, the Bellevue Comet quarterback senior, 223 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. One of them, the Kobe Sieverding, the rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown for Sieverding. And then Alex Pitts, 6 receptions, 150 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then Jacob Waller with 8 total touchdown. But the big key for East Buchanan here to stay in this game is stopping the dual threat of Gavin Woolham and Colin Kalmus, who is their 2 quarterbacks that could see some time. Gavin Williams is started by Colin Kalmus. I won't be surprised if he gets some playing time. He is their throwing quarterback who has 5 touchdowns, only 1 pick. Very good at protecting the football is Colin Kalmus. But the rushing attack is by Jamin Moore, 675 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns, and Max Cole, 647 yards and 6 touchdowns. But he had a big day here. But then Baylor Spadal has 3 rushing touchdowns too. Don't sleep on him. He could take the reins next year for the Lions. But they're receiving wise, you got to stop these guys. Will the Thrill Bennett, 233 yards. Aiden Hansen, 216 yards. And a big opportunity here for the Lisbon Lions. Here to try to get going offensively. We'll be back here in a couple minutes. You're listening to the 2021 State Tournament Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. And welcome back to the 2021 High School State Football Playoff Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. And here's what Jamie Vaskey, the head voice of the West Iowa Hawks on KMCH 94.7 KMCH and at KMCH.com things on the West LOS first round opponent against Grinnell, and the big win for the Hawks against Independence a few Fridays ago in Wild Lambeau Field.
I'm good, JT. How are you doing?
And how about you, West Hawks? District champ, plus I think that's not the end goal for this West team. Come playoff time. Because it starts out as a clean season at 2-0.
Yeah, the Hawks have played pretty well all season, and, I think goal number one at the beginning to get that district title, and I tell you what a game that was a couple weeks ago with them and Independence over at Lyle Limbaugh Field in the district. Basically a game for the district title, and the Hawks and Mustangs dueled it out as they always do, and that was goal number one, and like you said, not the end goal, as this team after last year losing to North Scott in the quarterfinals, I think that left a sour taste in their mouth, as now they're looking to build off of that a little bit. I think keep that in the back of their mind as they move forward through the playoffs.
Yeah. And what's your scouting report on the West Ellis first round opponent?
Well, not a lot about Grinnell. We haven't played Grinnell, I don't think, since back in the 2008 season. So it's been a while since the Hawks have played Grinnell, but they come in, they're 6-3, and they've had a pretty, their three losses are to some good teams. They lost to Solon, they lost to Harlan, and had another loss in there, and I don't remember who their third loss was to, but three pretty good quality losses for the Tigers of Grinnell. So, they're going to come into Brownfield on Friday night, and they're going to test the Hawks, and I think, the Hawks have had, they had that good test a couple weeks ago with Independence, and I think they're ready to go against Grinnell on Friday night.
And how about the 1-2 punch with Kyle Cole and Wyatt Volker's one of the best 1-2 punches in the state?
Well, it is, and they're both seniors, and they were both on that team last year. Kyle was in a different role as a wide receiver and kind of that fast wide receiver that they had on the outside, and Wyatt, I tell you what, he's a punisher in there, whether it's on offense or defense. He's one of those kids that looks for contact when he gets the ball and runs up the middle, and I think that's a good combination because they do a lot of read option stuff with those two, and either if you give it to Wyatt, you're gonna get hit hard if you're coming up the middle to try to stop him, but if Kyle pulls it, he's got good speed to the outside, and I think that, like you said, that's a really good 1-2 punch with those two.
And lastly, how about your defense? Your defense has been rock solid all year long for Heckles Doug Winkowitz, only allowing an average of 14 points a game. You will be in a lot of games that's only giving up 2 touchdowns a game.
Oh, you will. And we saw that in that, I keep bringing up that Independence game. I think the defense is what really helped the Hawks win that game a couple weeks ago against the Mustangs. I think back to that first drive in the second half. Independence had the ball for 9.5 minutes and got down inside the red zone, and then the Hawks defense held them for 3 straight plays and then blocked the field goal. So, the defense has played well all season long. I think a lot of the points that they've given up throughout the season, and I think that's the case with a lot of schools, is it's that second team, coming in there, and the guys that are on scout team, and they're not seeing the opposing team's film during the week. They're practicing for the West Delaware offense, and I think that's a credit to those kids that even getting in those games late in the ball game to only give up an average of 14 points a game. That's a pretty solid season all the way around.
And thank you, Jamie Vasquez. Have a good call against Grinnell.
Hey, thanks, JT. I appreciate you having me.
Into the 2021 Iowa High School football playoff preview show right here on the JT Sports Center. And I will be looking at the Cedar Rapids Xavier Saints, and the only loss on the year has come to highly regarded North Scott by a score of 20-8, the final score. And since then, five-game winning streak for the Saints, an 8-1 record with wins over Waller Catholic 28-9, West Delaware 23-21, Western Dubuque 28-14, Pella 28-3, Clear Creek Amana 34-7, Newton 48-24, and Oskaloosa 38-14, the final score. The Saints' first round opponent is Burlington in the first round. Let's take a look at the stats for the Saints. So far, Alex Neal, the quarterback, 1,776 yards passing, 8 passing touchdowns, only 4 picks this year for the Saints. And then rushing the ball, they've been very good rushing the ball. Michael Cunningham, 503 yards rushing for 5 touchdowns. Then how about the quarterback, Alex Neal, 11 rushing touchdowns, 343 yards rushing, 4.1 yards per carry, 11 touchdowns on 83 carries for the quarterback, Alex Neal. Will Hesterot, 355 yards rushing, 6 yards per carry, 3 rushing touchdowns. And then Christian Stanek, 146 yards rushing, 30.9 yards per carry, 1 rushing touchdown. Hayden McDermott, 109 yards rushing, 6.8 yards per carry. There. Receiving, it's Aiden McDermott, the good target for Neal, 642 yards receiving, 13 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns, and a long of 49. Then is Joseph Lemker, 211 yards receiving, 15.1 yards per catch, 3 receiving touchdowns. And then Tristan Vasquez, 206 yards on 11 receptions, 18.8 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown for Tristan Vasquez. Their defense is led by Andrew Cram with 26 solo tackles, Thomas Dunall with 39 solo tackles, Christian Stanek with 26 solo tackles, Luke Rocha with 21 solo tackles. Then sacks. They have had 17 sacks as a team, but leading the team in sacks is Stanek with 3, and he also has 8 tackles for loss. Andrew Cram with 7.5 tackles for loss, and Grant Reisner with 5.5 tackles for loss. Then interceptions, 8 interceptions, but how about Adrian McDermott has been a ball hawk all year long for the Saints defense. Has 4 INTs, 2 by Will Histerot, 2 pick sixes by Andy McDermott. Half of his picks have gone back for 6. So if you throw in away McDermott, he might have reservations for 6. 4 picks, 2 pick sixes for McDermott. And Lemker and Sundell, both, they have 4 pick sixes out of their 8 interceptions as a team. That's amazing. Half of their picks as a team have come back for 6. That is a very good ball hawking defense for the Saints of Cedar Rapids Xavier. And they will be taking on Burlington in the next round. They're 7-2 record for the Burlington team. They beat Iowa City Liberty and Iowa City by a good margin, but we'll be back here in just a couple seconds. And here we go, welcome back here. The Greyhounds of Burlington, the Xavier's first round opponent, K.E. Baker, the leading quarterback with 270 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And then rushing the ball, it's all about Brent Williams. Brent Williams, they're a very key player for Burlington. I'm interested to see what Brent Williams, I think he's number 1 in all-purpose yards, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he's second in all-purpose yards in the state with 2,320, and second in rushing yards with 2,225 for Brian Williams. But I'm interested to see how Xavier's defense is gonna contend against Brent Williams and see if they will try to get multiple looks on if Xavier's gonna go with a 9-man box or a 10-man box. And what I mean is go 4 linebackers or 3 linebackers to try to blitz more often. Try to get Brant Williams out of his rhythm. Because once he's in rhythm, he's gone. And you're not going to win a foot race with Brant Williams because he is so fast when he goes downhill. And he is gone. And you're not going to catch up to him if it's a foot race for Brant Williams of the Burlington Greyhounds. But he has 2,025 yards rushing, 10.4 yards per carry, 27 rushing touchdowns for Brant Williams. That's very, very good. And also, Keon Baker, the quarterback, 514 yards rushing for the quarterback. Kye Baker has 7 rushing touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry on 91 carries. And then it's Noah Simpson, 180 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. Then it's Carlo Martinez-Hale with 123 yards and Noah Dixon with 115 yards. And then when they go for the air, it's Alex Fawcett, 153 yards, receiving touchdown. Bryant Williams catches it out of the backfield, 68 yards, 1 touchdown. But their defense is led by Carlos Martinez-Hale with 49 solo tackles of his 56 total tackles. 20 solo tackles for Trent Huffman. 25 solo tackles for Noah Simpson. 19 solo tackles for Cameron Whiteon. And 17 solo tackles for Julius Harris. And he also has 8.5 tackles for loss. Carlos Martinez-Hale has 12 tackles for loss. Noah Simpson has 9 tackles for loss. Trent Huffman has 5.5 tackles for loss. And Julian Perez-Hall has 4 tackles for loss. And also for sacks, they have 2 sacks with Trey Maxwell as well. They also love to take the ball away with 7 forced fumbles, 2 of them by Carlos Martinez-Hale. And then interception, 11 INTs, 3 of them by Martinez-Hale, and 2 by Carlson and Baker. He can do it all. 2, Kye Baker, the quarterback, picks passes off. He has 2 on the year for the Greyhounds. 2021 Iowa High School Football Playoff Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. Welcome back to the 2021 Iowa High School Football Playoff Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. And here are the thoughts of Independence head football coach Justin Putz. His thoughts on the Mustang opponent, the Benning Community Bobcats, who have won 8 straight since their 37-34 loss against the Grinnell Tigers to open up the season. They have won 8 straight since then, with wins over Marion 28-6, South Tama 33-14, Vince Shieldsburg 21-7, and a very stout Benning Community defense. So now here's Coach Putz.
Good, JT. Thanks for having me, man.
How about the year Marcus Bay's been having? I call him King Bay because he has been really good for your ball club so far this season.
Yeah, Marcus has had a really good year. Obviously, he's a good player, an established player for us. 3-year starter there at tailback. So we expected big things from him. I think one of the impressive things about Marcus is, he set a school record in rush yards for us, but it's also he's a guy that the other team's keen on. They know he's going to get the ball a lot, and to still be able to do what he's doing with all the focus being on him and teams trying to stop him, kind of speaks to his ability. And then, we moved to safety this year and having a great defensive year as well. And, yeah, he's just a really, really good player, and I'm glad to be having him.
And what is your scouting report on the Benning Community Bobcats? I'm looking at the stats. Benning Community very, very good at defense. Independent only allowing 10 points a game. Benning Community only allowing 13 a game. Something's got to give in Van Horn on Friday night.
Yeah, Ben's really good. They're well coached, solid coaching staff down there, and offensively they do a lot of. They like to run the ball. They're really good at running the ball. A lot of read option. They create a lot of one-on-one tackles doing that. When you can read and you can throw lateral off the read, and You got guards pulling. You can force a lot of people having to stay home, and that can cause problems. You miss a tackle, the quarterback's really good. Very mobile. Running back is, I believe, the 100-meter champion in the Walnut Conference. They're right up there. Really athletic kid. And defense with the D tackles are probably as good as we've seen this year. So it's certainly going to be a challenge for us Friday.
Yeah. And speaking of your defense is tied for the Class 3A lead as a team in interceptions with 14. And you can be in a lot of games when you can take the ball away as good as Independence does.
Yeah, I think, some of that is our system-wise. We play a lot of zone, and, guys just get really good at it by the time that the year's over. And, having guys in the quarterback and tracking the ball, and then having good athletes and playmakers back there allows us to get our hands on some balls and doing that. But you also, I think a lot of that's set up by our defensive line and linebackers. Running early down. And we feel like if we can force you into throwing and down, and we know you're going to throw, that we can make some big plays and get after the ball a little bit. So, truly good interceptions are really a team effort. It's being prepared and it's being athletic, and our guys are both. So it's been a lot of fun so far.
And how about the duo between Mitchell Johnson and softball tight end Brady McDonald, one of the best 2-1-2 punches in the state, along with Keegan Smith?
Yeah, Mitch is a really good player for us. He's old school, man. I tell you, JT, we'll lead him. He's a quarterback that's thrown 20 touchdown passes, which is a school record for us. And 10, 12 times a game, we're going to lead him through the hole like a fullback. He'll knock you over. He's a tough kid, but he throws a really good deep ball. Mitch is probably underrated in how accurate he can be throwing the ball down the field. And Mitch makes a lot of good throws to guys in his face. He's tough, doesn't bother him. He hangs in there, holds on the ball as long as he can, allows the guys to get open. And, Keegan Schmidt, our lead receiver, and then Brady McDonald really come on the last 3 or 4 weeks. Those guys are good receivers. They're athletic, they have good hands, they run good routes. Those guys make some nice plays for us also. But it's real luxury to have that running game and then to be able to go to those weapons. Keegan Schmidt can run by at any time. Good route runner. Brady's a big target, really fast at 6'2", 215 pounds. So those guys have a good connection. And, Mitch is a real solid quarterback. He never makes the same mistake twice.
And final question, what is your key to a Mustang victory to survive in advance for Independent's first ever quarterfinal appearance in school history?
Biggest thing is in the playoffs, when you play good teams, you can't have turnovers now. You can't turnover.
Exactly.
That's step one. The second thing, you got to tackle. I think, you got to limit their big plays, and when you get the guy in space, it's one-on-one, you got to make the play. And so, I think those are some big keys for us, and we'll have to get going there. But it's just, we can't beat ourselves, and you got to make plays one-on-one. I think the same in the pass game. Now all of a sudden the coverage gets a little tighter to you, and the catch is more contested. You got to make the play. You got to make the tackle on defense, and we're really excited for the matchup.
And thank you, and good luck on Friday against the Bobcats.
Welcome back here to the 2021 Iowa High School Football Playoff Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. And we have a big preview here in Class 5A. You don't see very often a top 10 ranked showdown in the first round, and we have that this year with 6th ranked West Des Moines Dowling and 9th ranked Linn-Mar. Dowling 6-3 and Linn-Mar 7-2. They are led by quarterback McKay Jelinek, who's tied for 10th in Class 5A in passing touchdowns with 13. 4th in Class 5A in QBR with 153.3. And then he has a good wide receiver to throw to, a 5'2" player in Cameron Gunther, who's 9th in Class 5A in receiving yards with 620, and 1st in the state in yards per catch with 28.3. 1st in the state in yards per catch for Gunther. So Jelinek's going to look for him a lot to try to spread out that Maroon defense, trying to keep them on their toes, because I know Tom Wilson's going to have that Maroon defense ready to play
on Friday against the Lions, but Gunch is also fifth in Class 5A in receiving touchdowns with 8. First in Class 5A in interceptions with 6 and 2 pick sixes for Cameron Gunther. And then also Luke Gaffney tied for 6th in Class 5A in solo tackles with 49 and tied for 9th in Class 5A in tackles for loss with 16. And the team is tied for first as a team in Class 5A in INTs with 14, and first in pick sixes as a team with 4 pick sixes on the year for the Lion defense. They also 4th in total tackles and in solo tackles with 452.5 and 361 solos, and 9th in Class 5A in tackles for loss with 64. But they're taking on a Dowling Maroon team who their streak came to an end, I believe, 7 consecutive state titles for West Des Moines Dowling. And that's one of the best streaks that I think that is unbreakable, as the Dowling dominance, the Dowling Maroon dominance has been amazing to see with Ryan Boyle, who was the quarterback that started it. He's now at Indiana State, playing the starting quarterback role there for the Sycamores. And he also had Michael Zachary, an accomplished wrestler as well, for the West Des Moines Dowling Maroons. They have a couple good receivers on the team, and Cooper Nicholson, who's 5th in Class 5A in yards per catch at 18.2, and tied for 11th in Class 5A in receiving touchdowns with 6. And then also the speedy Carson Brown, who's tied for 5th in Class 5A in receiving touchdowns with 8. And then the defense is led by Jaden Petrus McMillan, 3rd in Class 5A in sacks with 8 for JPM. The new nickname for Jalen Petrus McMillan. Try to say that 10 times fast. That's a tongue twister for JPM. But the Dowling Maroon defense has been strong in this decade, has been absolutely amazing in the last 10 years for head coach Tom Wilson, and is 7th as a team in Class 5A in sacks with 17 apiece for the Maroon defense. As West Des Moines Dowling, they almost beat Southeast Polk to start the year, who's 8-1, and their only blemish for the Rams on the season. But then the Maroons, their best game was a 35-point win over Johnston and a 24-point win over Waukee. Plus, they had a 49-6 win over Ames, 38-3 over Johnston, 58-7 over Council Bluffs Abe Lincoln. And they came back in an absolute back-and-forth affair against West Des Moines Valley, and that game was absolutely amazing. 3 lead changes in the last 4 minutes of the game. 2 touchdown-led drives. That was absolutely huge. We're going to pull it up, and we'll be back in a second with more coverage of the 2021 State Playoff Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. Dowling came back as we welcome you back to the 2021 State Football Playoff Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. West Des Moines Dowling outscored the Valley Tigers 21-7 in the fourth quarter. Mason Morrow had 3 touchdowns, 174 yards. And then 2 receiving touchdowns by Eli Rardin as well for the Valley Tigers. And that was a big thing here as Jason Smolek came in and had 255 yards passing for the Maroons. We'll be back here in a couple seconds right here on the JT Sports Network. Welcome back here to the 2021 Iowa High School Football Playoff Preview Show right here on the JT Sports Network. And a big game in the second round between 8-1 Northfield Valley, the Tiger Hawks, taking on the 7-2 Monticello Panthers from Dean Nelson Field. It's going to be a good one, as both teams have prolific offenses, and it's going to be a good one here, as Monticello is ranked 12th, and Northfield Valley is ranked 19th in the poll that I'm looking at, but it's still going to be an amazing game from Monticello, as these two offenses are going to go toe-to-toe, as it's going to be the rushing attack of Northfield Valley versus the passing game of Monticello, and the running quarterback of Peyton Rice, and the two wide receiver cores between Caleb Saucer and Tate Peterson, one of the best two combos in the state. As Peterson, they are 2nd and 6th in Class 2A in reception is Saucer and Peterson, and Saucer is 2nd in Class 2A in receiving touchdowns with 12. And they have the perfect guy to have under center with those two out on the wings is Peyton Rice, 2nd in Class 2A in total touchdowns with 32, 2nd in Class 2A in passing yards with 2,352, and 5th in Class 2A in passing touchdowns with 18. But it's basically going to be the rushing attack. Both quarterbacks are mobile. Caleb White, the Tiger Hawk quarterback, 91 rushes for 844 yards, 13 rushing touchdowns, along with 255 yards passing for 3 touchdowns. They have only passed it 62 times all year. That reminds me of a lot of Solon. Smash mouth football, tired out the defense, run it down their throat, and then you throw it over the top when the defense is tired, and that's very, very good strategy. But against a team with high endurance, that might not work. But back to this game, as Will Miller, 2 touchdowns. But how about the do-it-all player Peyton Rice? Leads the team in passing yards, rushing yards, and total tackles. That's very impressive for a sophomore. For the Monticello Panthers, he has had 18 passing touchdowns, along with 14 rushing touchdowns. He has 2,352 yards passing, 1,299 yards rushing, and 14 touchdowns. That's a guy, this could be a high-scoring affair. I wouldn't be shocked either way if this game is either 50-48, and the last team who gets it wins, or it could be a lower scoring affair like 13-0. But the last 5 games for both teams have been absolutely offense. Not counting the only game that wasn't just offense is Enamosa 14-8. But other than that, 41-35 against Union for Monticello, 34-14 against Northeast Goose Lake, 55-13 against Comanche, 41-35 against West Liberty, and for New Hampton, for Northfield Valley, 27-21 against Union, 39-0 against O1, 35-0 against Jessup, and 50-35 against Waller Catholic. This game is going to be offense, and a little bit more offense. And if Monticello stops to run, here's my prediction. If Monticello stops to run and makes Caleb White make Caleb White beat you with his arm. Make Caleb White beat you with his arm. Keep him in the pocket. Keep him contained. Make him earn it, is what I'm trying to say. Because same thing for Northfield Valley. Keep Preston Rice contained. But it's pick your poison with Sauce and Tate Peterson. That's very, very good players on the other side. But you got these two. I'm curious to see how these two offenses are going to go up against these two good defenses and see what happens. Also, Caleb Burrow, 197 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, just 1 pick for Caleb Burrow on the season as well for the Tiger Hawks. But also, they have rushed it 384 times as a team. Also, Taylor Luzum as well, 700 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns, 9.3 yards per carry for the Tiger Hawks. And then also, Blake Wichner, 575 yards rushing for 5.2 yards per carry, 8 rushing touchdowns for Richner. And then Caleb Gurman, 290 yards rushing for 1 touchdown, 7.1 yards per carry. And then Martin Larson, 105 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, and 7.0 yards per carry. And then receiving, they only have, I don't know if this is right, but based on the stats, Northfield Valley has only had 25 receptions all year long. That's what, if Monticello stops Caleb White, make him beat you with his arm, make them one-dimensional, advantage Monticello. But their defense has been rock solid all year long, as has for the Tiger Hawks. They have had 5 picks, 13 forced fumbles on the year, 2 by Woods and Lauer for the Tiger Hawks. And then for the Monticello Panthers, they have Preston Rice, who's absolutely amazing. And then receiving wise, the two dynamic duos, Caleb Saucer, 1,256 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns, 20.3 yards per catch for Saucer. And the left-hand man of Saucer, Tate Peterson, 709 yards receiving, 13.6 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns for Peterson. And also Peyton Schilling with 174 yards receiving, 21.8 yards. Don't sleep on Peyton Schilling. Then on defense, how about that Monticello defense? Forcing 17 picks. 6 picks for Peterson, 5 for Saucer, 2 for Connor Saucer. That ball hawking defense. And another thing for Northfield Valley, if you're a Tiger Hawk fan, just like Coach Putz said of the Independence Mustangs, especially in the playoffs, you can't give good teams short fields off of turnovers. You just can't do that. Because the more times you have a chance to score on you with a short field, the less times the opponent has to score on you, the better. And keeping that Monticello offense on the sideline is a big key for Northfield Valley. Establishing the run. And for Monticello, I will say it again. If you stop the run, stop the Tiger Hawk run, make Caleb White beat you from the pocket. Make him throw it. Make him beat you with his arm. We'll be back here on the JT Sports Network, the 2021 Iowa High School football playoff preview show right here on the JT Sports Network. here's the thoughts of head football coach of Crickamana, Matt Hattie, and his thoughts on the very talented running back Dawson Fogarty, who's number 2 in every major rushing category in Class 4A, and he's the leading touchdown getter in Class 4A for the 7th ranked Winterset Huskies. And also the importance of special teams being special for the Clippers this year, and then their dynamic duo between Ben Swales and Harrison Romberg.
Yeah, buddy.
And you have a tough first round opponent, the Winterset Huskies, and they have a stingy defense. They're 7th in total team tackles. They're 6th in sacks, and they're 8th in the state in forced fumbles with 14. You've got to protect the football against the stingy Husky defense.
Yeah, we do, and that's something that we talk about all the time. One of the big things that we've preached from the get-go is valuing the football, and for the most part, we've done a pretty good job of that, limiting turnovers and making smart decisions. But that's definitely something that we're going to have to do on Friday night, and you definitely have to do in the postseason because possessions become so important in these playoff games.
And then on the other side of the ball for the 7th ranked Huskies, you've got to stop their duo running back, Dawson Fogarty, number 1 in total touchdowns in Class 4A with 32nd in rushing yards, 1st in yards per carry, averaging 11 yards per carry, and 2nd in rushing touchdowns with 25. You got to keep him in check.
Yeah, he's pretty darn good. That's for sure. He's a pretty dynamic back. One of the things we've really noticed about him is very rarely does he go down on first contact. So it'll be really important that we get multiple guys to the football as often as possible. And I think with a kid like that, I think the biggest thing you've got to make him earn what he gets. We can't give up big chunk plays to him. We've got to make sure that they are forced to drive the field on any of the scoring drives that they might have. Try and keep them in front and see if we can't string together a few stops.
But you have a couple weapons in your own right. One of the best combos in Class 4A, Ben Swales to Harrison Romberg.
We do, yeah. Those two have been really, really vital for us. Ben, as our quarterback, has been fantastic. His numbers are really, really impressive. I just was looking at him today doing some all-district stuff. When you look at, I think 17 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions.
Yeah, he's 6th in passing touchdowns.
Yeah, and he's thrown it quite a bit. So to only have 3 interceptions with as many passing attempts as he had really says a lot to him and the decisions he's been making and just how he's been leading our football team. And so, he's been really good. And then obviously Harry has been his top target. Harry's one of the best receivers I've ever coached. He runs great routes. He's got good hands. He's got deceptive speed, and teams have tried to cover him in multiple different ways, and Harry just finds a way to get open and make plays for us. So yeah, we definitely wouldn't be where we're at without those two on the offensive side.
And then on the other side of the ball for the Clippers, you're led by Gabe Freeman, who's 9th in total tackles, 8th in solos, and then Ethan Pucomb, who's 2nd in forced fumbles.
Yep. So those two have been big parts of our defense. Gage obviously has been our leader on that side, and obviously is a big part of our team offensively as well. As from the running back position, he's just a phenomenal two-way player. We put him in some different spots at his outside linebacker position and try and find ways that he can impact the football game defensively. And Ethan's just been really good about finding his way around the football. He's got a couple those fumble recoveries. He just had an interception last Friday down at Newton. So he's got a good nose for the football, and this is really good about understanding scouting reports and what the offense is trying to do.
And what do you think is going to be a big key for a Clipper victory to pull off the upset?
I think for us it's special teams. Special teams has been a huge thing for us. in every
maybe
game.
A block punt, maybe a block punt, maybe a punt return for a touchdown to spark the offense.
Yep. So in every game that we've won this year, we've blocked the punt. So we have done a really nice job in our special teams, and we've made that a huge priority in our program. And I think one of the things that has kind of helped us turn the corner and get to where we're at is our attention to detail in special teams and trying to win that third phase. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right, JT. It could be a block punt. That's been huge for us this year. It could be Freeman or Rosenberg springing a return in the return game. It could be just flipping the field with our punting game and making them have to drive the length of the field for, when they're on offense. So I think special teams is something that we really hang our hat on, and we think it separates us from other teams. So that'll be something we'll continue to try and take advantage of on Friday night.
Thank you for joining me, and good luck against the Huskies.
Thanks, JT. Appreciate you having me on, buddy.
Okay, bye-bye.
Here are the matchups for the area teams that are in the playoffs. Starting in Class A in the second round, East Buchanan taking on Lisbon. And it's going to be an whole Tri-Rivers Conference affair. Adam Hackett has to get going for East Buchanan because Will the Thrill Bennett of Lisbon is good for the Lisbon Lions, both 8-1, and another all Tri-Rivers Conference, all Northland trying to stay unbeaten. They're taking on 7-2 Wapsie Valley. And good game there, Tate Hagenberry. The Hagenberry boys, Tate and Cade and Austin Hilmer. That is an amazing trio right there. Tate Hagenberry, 23 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns, 30 touchdowns on the year for Tate Hagenberry, 1,743 passing yards, 220 rushing yards for Tate. Then for Cade Hagenberry, 943 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns, 229 yards for Hagenberry. Austin Hilmer has 11 receiving touchdowns, 778 yards. Just launch it up to Hilmer. He will make the catch in a 50-50 ball, 52 receptions. And then Landon Paul, 18 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble for Paul. And then on the other side, the guy that needs to go going for Wapsie Valley to break the perfect season for Northland is Holton Robinson. 11 rushing touchdowns, 931 yards on 164 attempts for the Wapsie Valley Warriors senior. He has to get going good. Casey O'Donnell, the quarterback, 4 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns for O'Donnell. And then Hunter Kane has to play good defense for the Warriors to have a chance in this one because Northland has been averaging under the South Winneshiek game there. Starman 43-0. Hudson 36-0, 50-0, 46-16. This defense is as stout as they come for Northland, and that is, Grundy Center taking on Earlham. That's going to be a good one there. As we go to Class 1A, second round. Big one there between Dyke New Hartford taking on Pella Christian, 9-0, taking on 8-1. One of these good teams are going to have their seasons end in the second round. And both teams have electric offenses. Pella Christian 55-15 Pleasantville, 52-8 against Cardinal, 42-7 against Central Decatur, and 42-21 against Minneapolis. For Dyke New Hartford, 56-6 against East Marshall, 31-0 against Appleton and Parkersburg, 35-10 against Denver, 55-0 against Central Springs, and then in the first round game against Eagle Grove, 49-0. But it all starts with the 2 quarterbacks, and Jacob Stockdale and Isaac Kamamazinski. And Isaac Kamamazinski has 18 passing touchdowns, 16 rushing touchdowns. That is amazing for a quarterback. 1,425 yards for the Eagle of Pella Christian. He's just a junior, and 895 rushing yards for the quarterback, Isaac Mazinski. And he leads the team in rushing too. And then his favorite target, Eric Mulder, 438 yards, receiving 7 touchdowns. And he's also a havoc on defense for Mazinski, 49.5 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 3 forced fumble, and a pick. For the Wolverines, they led passing by Jacob Stockdale, 1,348 yards passing, 13 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns for Stockdale. And they led on the ground by Jarek Hall, who was 1,515 yards rushing, 20 rushing touchdowns. He has to play good. The battle of the running backs. Can Stockdale take some of the pressure off of Jarek Hall? If Stockdale can do that, and Dayton Hartford's asking Jarek Hall to carry 30 or 40 times against a very, very stingy Pella Christian defense, you got to mix it up, play action pass, and that stuff. And then, but they have a good defender, and Nick Rensky, the junior, 76 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks for Nick Rensky. Other key players for the Wolverines, rushing wise, it's Malachi Walston, 315 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. Gus Varney, 50 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. And then receiving wise, Devon Kosh, the leading receiver, 459 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, 17 yards per catch. And also Nate Graves, 391 yards receiving, 17 yards per catch, 2 receiving touchdowns. And also Michael Harbor, 113 yards receiving, 1 touchdown. And also Chase Hall, 99 yards receiving and 2 receiving touchdowns there. But the ball hawking defense is there again. 9 forced fumbles, 3 by Isaac Carpenter, 3 by Brilla Ellingborg, and 2 scoop and scores by Wyatt Wardell and Will Textor. And the picks, 2 pick sixes, 7 picks for Parker Harris. 2 of them he has had reservations for 6. And Parker, Devon Kalash with 2, and then the Halls, Jace and Jarek Hall, both have a pick each. For Pella Christian, they also have Bew Bush at quarterback, 211 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, just 1 pick for Bew Bush. Also rushing the ball, they have Benny Shirts, 406 yards rushing, 4.3 yards per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns for Benny. And then receiving wise, Eric Mulder with 7, and then Benny Spronk, 428 yards receiving, 18.6 yards per catch. And then Drew Gettings, also good, 3 receiving touchdowns, 400 yards. And then Trevor Venstra, 200 yards receiving, 18 yards per catch, and 1 receiving touchdown. The defense is stout with Mulder, Joshua Dell with 41.5 tackles. And then they like to ball hawk defense, pick 6 by Giddings, but then 2 picks by Giddings, Eric Mulder, and Jack Frencher. And also Kama Mazinski is electric on the kick return. He can do it all for Pella Christian. And that is going to be a key. Can Dayton Hartford stop the Kama Mazinski Express? Here, there. Then a big one here in Beckman. 9-0 on the Trailblazers, trying to keep their perfect season alive against West Branch. 7-2 on the year. And the Beckman offense has come to life in the last 5 games. 69-0 against Postville. 41-7 against Evelyn Malmark, and 42-6 against South Hardin. And they are led by Owen Hurengarf. 21 rushing touchdowns, 1,200 229 yards on 201 attempts. Kenny Glassman, the mobile quarterback, 11 passing touchdowns for 921 yards. And then 463 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns for Glassman. For the air, favorite target for Glassman is Patrick Gallagher, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then Nick Wolfcool, 2 forced fumbles, 40.5 tackles for loss, total tackles, and 6 tackles for loss for Nick Wolfcool. And then the Bears are led by Carver Borak, 631 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 254 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns for Borak. And on the ground is Andy Hansen, 1,295 yards rushing, 16 rushing touchdowns for Aiden Hansen. And for the air is Peyton Miller, 170 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. And total tackles for Kenny DeBoak with 40 tackles for loss, 1.5 tackles. And then 1 forced fumble for Boak. And that one. Other key players for Beckman. And it is Nick Wolfcool, 417 yards rushing, 9.1 yards per carry, 5 rushing touchdowns. Kenny Glassman, 463 yards, 7 touchdowns. And then Max Moles, 110 yards rushing, and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, they led in receiving by Gallagher, and then it's Moles. And then it's Luke Schultz, 156 yards receiving, 11.1 yards per catch, 1 receiving touchdown. Then Connor Grover, 120 yards, 20.0 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns. And then Lane Kramer, 104 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown. And then the interception, 14 interceptions, 4 by Glassman, 2 by Kramer, and 2 by Logan Burchard. And then for West Branch, they are going to run the ball a lot, and they are also led by Carver Boak, the quarterback, and then Wyatt Friedland with 104 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns for Friedland. And then receiving-wise, 170 yards by Peyton Miller, and then 107 for Kenny Boak so far there. And then another big one in 1A. And from Almac and Regina, that's going to be a big one too. But then we go to Class 2A, as it's going to be a big one here between Williamsburg taking on PCM Monroe at Williamsburg. They led by Cade Ritchie, 22 passing touchdowns, 1,279 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown for Ritchie. Gable Dayton, 620 yards on the ground, 6 rushing touchdowns. Jake Weber has been amazing this year for the Red Raiders. 15 receiving touchdowns, 781 yards on just 36 catches. And then Gable Dayton has been an offensive nightmare when you're playing the Red Raiders this year. So far, 59.5 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception for the Red Raiders. From PCM Monroe, they led by Carson Vellaloon, who has 10 passing touchdowns, 96 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns for Vellaloon, 748 yards passing. And then Aiden Anderson, who is very good out of the backfield as well, who is 170 yards through the air, 2 receiving touchdowns for Aiden Anderson, along with 7 rushing touchdowns for Anderson. And Matt Rosonki, 5 receiving touchdowns, 338 yards for Rosonki for there. And that will be it for the... Let's do a couple more here. A big one between Hampton-Dumont and Humboldt. And I'm going to say this for right now. Hampton-Dumont, I wouldn't be surprised if Hampton-Dumont will give the 10-0, the 9-0 Humboldt, second-ranked Humboldt Wildcats a scare. Because Humboldt's opponents are very, very good. Their 4 losses are all to teams inside the top 10, West Delaware, and Appendix. Southwest Valley, Nevada. All teams inside the top 10 inside there. But other than that, Alphazona has been impressive. 42-0 against West Fork. 17-14 against Falls Alden, 49-14 against Charles City, 42-6 against Center Point Urbana, and 48-13 against South Tama. This is another team that plays better than their record. Hampton-Dumont could pull one out here. But you got to protect the football against Humboldt. You cannot give Caden Maxton the running quarterback, and he can throw it too. He has one of the best wide receivers in Will Ornes, 14 touchdowns, 191 receiving yards. And then Caden Maxton, 26 passing touchdowns, 12 rushing touchdowns, 1,937 yards passing, 1,249 yards rushing. You gotta sustain drives if you're Hampton-Dumont. If I'm the Hampton-Dumont coach, if it's 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 on anywhere on the field, I'm going for it. Because you do not beat Humboldt or any good team by punting the ball back to their offense. You gotta sustain drives. Have a 9-minute drive. If it's a 9-minute drive, advantage Hampton-Dumont because they like to grind it out on you. They like to grind it out on you because right here on rushing attempts, 310 rushing attempts. Total tackles almost even. But right here in the historical matchups are tied up 2 apiece between Hampton-Dumont and Humboldt. Hampton-Dumont won the first 2 in back-to-back years by 30-13 and 28-21 the score, but then in back-to-back years in 2016 and 2017, Humboldt goes back-to-back 51-14, 34-20. And the rubber match of this series is the one that will send one of these teams home. But I will say this again, Hampton-Dumont could give Humboldt a scare in this game because the less possessions, if Hampton-Dumont goes down the field like in the Independence West Delaware game, 9-minute drive, if Hampton-Dumont gets 3 9-minute drives, Humboldt has a chance, Hampton-Dumont Cal has a chance in this game. Because they like to ground it out, smash mouth football, tire out the defense, and then throw it over the top with play action pass. And that's what they have to do to beat Humboldt. Establish the run game, tire out the defense. But you can't have penalties. You can't have turnovers. You gotta play almost a perfect game to beat a team like the Humboldt Wildcats. And the Humboldt has the best 2 players in Western Iowa and Matson and Ornes. But Hampton-Dumont has one as well in Cale Heron. 15 passing touchdowns for Cale Heron. 1,409 yards passing and 3 rushing touchdowns. Marco Guerrero also can catch it out of backfield. That's another thing. Can Marco Guerrero get out of the backfield like a little bit of a bubble screen, but a wheel route, bubble screen, and get that going? He has done it in the past. 279 yards, both receiving touchdowns on bubble screen from Marco Guerrero. Then Tate Schmidt, 9 receiving touchdowns, 639 yards. He has to have a big game for Hampton-Dumont too, to keep it close for Hampton-Dumont. And another one that's huge is West Delaware taking on Grinnell. Jamie Vasky will be on the call for that. The Hawks are 8-1. Only loss was to Cedar Rapids Xavier by 2. But Kyle Cole has been absolutely amazing for the Hawks this year. Then in Class 4A, Xavier's taking on Burlington. How about this? WSR taking on Cedar Rapids, Washington. WSR is led by McCray Haggerty, 12 rushing touchdowns, 923 yards. And Grant Halverson, 6 rushing touchdowns, 13 passing touchdowns for Grant Halverson for the Go Hawks. And for the Warriors, a wash. 9 passing touchdowns for Reed Ortiz. He likes to go to Wyatt Watts McBride out of the backfield a lot. 6 receiving touchdowns. 6 rushing touchdowns for McBride. 3 receiving touchdowns for Watts McBride. 526 yards on the ground. But how about this? Chase Maloney. He has to have a big game. He probably has to have the best game of his career. 56 tackles for loss. 56 total tackles, 21 tackles for loss. 7.5 sacks. That's pretty impressive for a 5-4 team for Chase Maloney and the Washington Warriors. And that would do it for here on this show. But let's do 5A quick. Sorry about that. Would have been a premature. But let's do 5A quick too. Kennedy taking on Dubuque Senior. Valley taking on Centennial. Prairie against Bettendorf. Waukee taking on Waukee Northwest. First year as a school, Waukee Northwest makes the playoff in their first season. Pleasant Valley taking on Cedar Falls. Iowa City High at home against Urbandale. Dowling Catholic taking on Livermore, an absolute dandy of a game. And Southeast Polk taking on Johnston. That would do it. I'm Jansen Turner saying so long.